you have to be radical about what you allow into your spirit. You will know whether what you allow your eye to consume is light or darkness based on the way it manifests in your life. Why are we listening to that? There's no correlation. What fellowship does darkness have with light? What's good, y'all? Welcome to the 30th episode of the JRNE Podcast with your girl, Jada Christine. I don't know exactly how I'm going to title this episode yet. I actually have multiple titles, so I guess we'll see. But this episode is about keeping that eye healthy. We're talking about media and mind, sober-mindedness, not in the context of alcohol and drugs, but sober-mindedness in the context of being watchful of what we put in our minds. And we're talking about this because you are what you eat. A lot of times we'll be dealing with stuff in our spirits that we think could be the enemy, that we think could be the world, but really it's just ourselves, and we're not being cautious of what we're consuming. And a lot of times it's our fault. So the main scripture we're going to be coming from today is Luke 11:34-36, which says, "Your eye is like a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light. But when it is unhealthy, your body is filled with darkness. Make sure that the light that you think you have is not actually darkness. If you are filled with light with no dark corners, then your whole life will be radiant as though a floodlight were filling you with light." So yes, in this video, we're focusing on that second sentence. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light. And we're talking about keeping that eye healthy. This world is under control of the enemy, at least as much power as he has permission to take control of. But if you look at this world, it's very apparent that the enemy is at work. There's evil everywhere. And one of his biggest tools is the media. Social media, movies, TV shows, the news, advertisements, and culture, propaganda in general. If you haven't noticed, those are the things that have the biggest influence over how humans operate, over how we think, over our lives, and it's mainly by controlling how we think. And as Proverbs 23:7 says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." So we have the job that can be very hard at times to be cautious and be vigilant about what we are consuming with our eyes. Because if we slip up and mess around and watch something that we're not supposed to watch, listen to something that we shouldn't be listening to, then we're risking spiritual diseases. And I'm talking metaphorically here. What I mean by that is really, maybe you've been delivered from lust and sexual immorality, yet for some reason lately you've been battling your flesh a lot tougher lately. It's been harder for you to defeat the flesh lately. That's when you have to ask yourself, what have you allowed in your spirit? What has caused you to trip up? What have you been consuming that has put lust on your mind, in your spirit? What have you allowed in your eye? It's kind of like going to doctors for a checkup, but instead you're in God's presence. He's examining you and he's like, "Oh wow, after looking at your x-rays, it seems that you have a lot of envy in your heart, a lot of jealousy in your heart, a lot of lust in your heart, even a lot of fear and anxiety." And he's looking at you like, "Oh, I thought we conquered this. What happened? How did it come back?" Then he asks you, "What have you been eating?" The same way the doctors ask you when you get sick, "What did you eat? What is it that you eat?" Maybe you ate some junk food that got your stomach in knots and you over the toilet barfing. I don't know. But then God may ask you, "What have you been eating? What have you let into your spirit lately, my daughter or my son?" Then you say, "Oh, I may have slipped up on my convictions a little bit lately. I thought if I watched this movie that was a little bit more steamy than usual, that I could handle myself, but I ended up slipping up and watching porn. Or I thought I was strong enough to hang around my friends who still smoked, and we were in the car and they passed me the blunt and I just hit it because I couldn't help myself, you know. I may have spent too much time on social media this week, and as I was scrolling, I saw this girl who was doing better than me, and she had a boyfriend and she had this, and I just felt like envious of her and stuff like that." Then God sits there, he's disappointed, he's like, "We've been over this over and over again." He's a little heartbroken, he's a little frustrated, but as gracious as he is, he forgives you once again. Then he prescribes you with new convictions to follow, that you must follow in order to keep that heart pure, in order to keep that mind clean and prevent those spiritual infections, okay? To save you from falling again. And convictions may change over time. So maybe you used to be able to sit through some movies, but now you can't anymore. Maybe he tells you you don't need to be watching that. Maybe he's like, you need to delete that song from your playlist. Overall, staying vigilant about what you're consuming means that you're following your own convictions. That means you get into prayer about what is okay and what is absolutely unacceptable for you to listen to, for you to watch. Because the Christian the Christian TikTokers may say, if you listen to this artist, you're not a Christian. If you watch this movie, you're not a Christian. If you watch this show, you're not a Christian. You're not a Christian, you're not a Christian, you're not a Christian. If you do this. They love to throw around their own convictions on that app. I'm going to say that shamelessly. And now, because they've projected their convictions onto you, they're spreading confusion. You're confused about what's good and what's bad. You're paranoid about disappointing God. You're dealing with guilt that you shouldn't even be dealing with in the first place. And maybe you're even abstaining from something that doesn't even concern you because you were never battling with it in the first place. But because you won't dive deep yourself, you are ignoring the fact that you need to cut out some other things that aren't even mentioned by some Christian TikTokers. And now you're still battling with things and you can't figure out where the open door is because you're too worried about open doors in other people's lives. You're too worried about other people's convictions. And I'm not going to dive too deep into personal convictions because it's personal. But it's so necessary in your walk to identify what you need to avoid because that's how you keep that eye healthy. And this isn't a video saying if you're a Christian, don't listen to this, don't watch this, because convictions differ. And I can't tell you if you should listen to a specific artist or not. I'm not God. I don't know if that artist is going to pull you away from God unless you're spending more time worshiping that artist more than you're worshiping God. That's the only way. If you're idolizing an artist, you probably shouldn't listen to that artist too much. What I can say in general, to generalize it, is extremely vulgar music is detrimental to the spirit. I can say that some rappers are demonic and you have to be cautious about what you're letting into your ears. Some shows encourage you to live a lifestyle that goes against the word of God. But it's up to you to figure out what that means for you. If I sat here and said, this show is okay, this show is not okay, we'd be here all day. This song is okay, this song is not okay, we'd be here all day. Romans 14:22-23 says, you may believe there's nothing wrong with what you are doing, but keep it between yourself and God. Blessed are those who don't feel guilty for doing something they have decided is right. But if you have doubts about whether or not you should eat something, you are sinning if you go ahead and do it, for you are not following your convictions. If you do anything you believe is not right, you are sinning. This is the only scripture I'm aware of that talks about personal convictions. And personal convictions are not, I don't think smoking weed is bad, I'm gonna keep smoking weed. Personal convictions are not, I don't think wild partying and going out and shaking my behind on a bunch of guys is bad, I'm gonna keep doing it. Personal convictions are not, I don't believe getting drunk and sleeping with this guy I have no idea who he is bad. I'm gonna keep doing it. That's not what personal convictions are. But I will say that we are on different journeys. So when I first gave my life to Christ, I wasn't convicted about smoking weed. I wasn't convicted about watching porn and doing a bunch of things immediately. It happened down the journey. And I will say, after watching other people's testimonies, I think I cut out that stuff a lot earlier than maybe some other people did. But that's the difference between journeys. So for some people, it may be harder to cut out some things. For some people, it may be easier to cut out some things. Those aren't convictions, but those are processes. It's the process of getting refined. But the goal is that God began a work in you and he's going to carry it on to completion. So when that work begins, your job is to work with him and not just willingly stay in sin and say that you believe what you're doing is cool, so you're just gonna keep doing it. That's just straight up disrespectful to God. But all he wants is for you to genuinely give effort and keep pursuing him. And as you pursue him, it will be easier to let those things go. And the bottom line is that sin separates us from God. If you are pursuing God, but you are willfully remaining in sin, there's a barrier. But that's not what this episode is about. I'm going on a tangent. But the consequences for not keeping that eye healthy is that the body becomes filled with darkness. It even says, be careful that the light that you think you have is not darkness. I always have looked at this verse in a different context as well. And it was, I believed in New Age spirituality, I believed in manifestation, I believed in tarot cards. And I thought that was the light. I considered that light. I thought, yes, I'm woke. Okay, I'm enlightened. I am spiritual. That's what I thought I was. And I considered that light. And when I gave my life to Christ and that veil was removed from my eyes, I saw that light was really darkness. I wasn't aware that the light that I believed in was really darkness. And behind the scenes, I was dealing with infatuations, addictions, fear, anxiety, depression, loneliness. Let me tell you, I was dealing with a lot of different things spiritually that they didn't have me in a positive mental state. It didn't. And yet I still consider myself, yes, I'm so spiritual. But I haven't looked at this verse in the context of simply watching movies, simply watching TV shows, or scrolling on social media and receiving these things into my eye gates and watching how it affects my spirit. I hadn't considered that it could be something so spiritual, something that was hidden in plain sight. And so you will know whether what you allow your eye to consume is light or darkness based on the way it manifests, first in your heart, then in your life. For example, maybe you start listening to this new artist you found and their music has a little sad vibe to it or has a little depressing vibe to it, and then you notice that you start carrying a sadness in your heart that you haven't had before. There's a very high possibility that the music is affecting your spirit. There's a very high possibility that the music is influencing you in a negative way, and it might be time to cut that artist off. Or maybe you went to go watch a scary movie, or even just listen to a song that had some questionable lyrics in it, or some questionable acapellas and harmonies in the background that you have no idea what they were saying, or some mumbling in the background that you had no idea what they were saying, and now you're dealing with fear and paranoia. Get to the source. Now maybe you can't watch scary movies, and maybe you gotta delete that song from your playlist. And it's okay if people call you a wuss. People call me a wuss. My own family, y'all. My own family will call me a wuss for not wanting to go into a haunted house or watch a scary movie. I don't play that, okay? Spiritual warfare is real. It is real. And I'm not trying to watch a scary movie, especially when the most of the warfare experience is as I sleep. That's enough scary movie, okay? So examine your heart daily. If there's something negative that you notice that's sitting in your heart that you don't like, that you haven't recognized that is new, you have to get to the source of it. What has caused it? For example, what has caused this new envy I'm sensing in my heart? What has caused this jealousy to arise in my spirit? What has caused this depression to come out of nowhere? This lonely, this urge to do things that I've had patience to do before. For example, I'm just gonna out myself. And I think this is gonna be in this week's vlog, but I was talking about in one of my vlogs how I'm back at school, and so I don't live alone, but I have roommates. But I'm basically on a college campus by myself. I found that I had this anxiety when I went places by myself. I found that I had this fear to do things alone, and it came after I went to Walmart and I left and went all the way back to school, and there was an air tag that had been tracking me the whole way, and I had to call the police. It was a whole thing. And it put a fear into me after that. Dang, I don't want to be alone. I need my protector. God, where's my protector? Where's my provider? Where's my man? And it kind of put a fear into me. And so recently, since I moved back to school, it kind of snuck back in, I'm a woman, living in a city all on her own. I have family an hour away, and I have family 6 hours away. But for the most part, I'm on my own, and I live with girls my age. And so I allowed that fear to influence me into trying to get back into the dating scene. I'll let y'all know how that goes, but I don't think it's going anywhere. The thing about dating is, so I allowed fear and anxiety to push me into rushing the process of me waiting on God to send me somebody. And if I trusted Him, then maybe I wouldn't have downloaded the app, but I also don't want to overthink myself out of, possibilities. So I'm going to see how this goes. I'll really let y'all know if there happens to be a diamond in the rough on this app, and I happen to be a man of God on this app. I even tried a new Christian dating app, but there's really nobody on it yet. So we'll see. But I'll probably end up deleting this by the end of the week. I'll let y'all know. Anyways, what was I trying to say? Once I got to the source of that fear and anxiety, where is this fear and anxiety coming from that's having me think, I gotta find somebody to be by my side? I had to deal with that fear and that anxiety. This is something that I'm actively doing, literally right now. This is something that I'm trying to navigate right now, dealing with fear and anxiety, living as a 20-year-old woman on her own. So I'm learning that God is my refuge, and Psalm 91 is a scripture that I found myself returning to last night. Not to mention the anxiety from just, living alone, but spiritual warfare has hit me out of nowhere. I have an inkling as to why. I think it's my environment, but it's not really something I can control. Like, I'm on a college campus. Spiritual warfare is real, and it'll try to take your peace, especially as you sleep. But I could cry right now. I don't. Why am I crying? I shouldn't be crying. I can't be serious. Oh my god! Because why am I crying? I shouldn't be freaking crying, bro. Spiritual warfare is real. It's not something that I fully understand yet. It's something that I'm learning. And it's like, I feel like a baby Christian when it comes to spiritual warfare, because even when I do try to pray and when I do try to speak life for myself when stuff happens, like when spiritual attacks come, and most of the warfare I experience is in my sleep. And I go to people and I ask questions. Like, for example, I went to my pastor and asked him, he basically straight up was like, oh yeah, that's witchcraft. And I was like, okay, well, kind of, what do I do? And it was kind of just like, this is what happens when you're a Christian. Like, you suffer. Like, this is a war, and it's a spiritual war. The spiritual realm is real. I don't know why am I talking about spiritual warfare right now, but it's basically like, this is real. When you're going hard for the kingdom, when you're going hard for God, the devil's taking that as, you just threw a bomb at this is war, and you just threw a bomb at his camp. The devil's basically like, oh, I'm gonna come and try to get you because you trying to mess up the kingdom of darkness. You trying to come up against what I'm doing. That's how he takes it. So he takes it as, I'm coming for you. But I ain't gonna back down because I'm a soldier for Christ, okay? If you had any similar experiences, I could use some encouraging words and some prayer right now. And I may have to swallow my pride and ask more questions from people that I barely know. I be telling people to DM me and ask questions, but I don't want to ask nobody questions. Like, how that work? Anyways. Oh, that's also why. Okay, tangent again. I'm sorry, another tangent. Another reason why I feel anxious, like, to get into, like, a relationship. Same reasons, fear and anxiety. And I wouldn't feel safe with the man if he didn't know how to pray for this exact reason. If he wasn't like a big Christian, like a Christian, you know what I'm saying? Like, not just a church boy, not somebody who'd be like, oh yeah, God first, but somebody who really walks the walk and talks the talk, because I wouldn't be able to feel safe with him if I couldn't wake him up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, we need to pray right now, because this is a war. Let me shut up. Okay, let me get right back on track. So that's what I have been examining in my heart lately. That's what I'm working on. Let me not rush myself into something I don't need to be in. Y'all keep me in check. Anyways, when you allow light into your eye, there's a positive change you're going to see. Maybe you've been spending more time in worship. You've been spending more time in your word. You found some godly friends. You've been going to church lately. Or you've just been avoiding the media that I'm talking about that has an influence over your spirit. And you notice an abundance of fruit in your life. It becomes easier to walk in the fruits of the spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That's how you know that you've let light into your body. It says that when your eye is healthy, your body is filled with light. And if you are filled with light with no dark corners, then your whole life will be radiant, as though a floodlight were filling you with light. With no dark corners. That means no little at night behind closed doors, oh, I'm gonna just, play with myself since nobody's looking at me. Oh, I'm gonna just, watch this inappropriate X-rated video I shouldn't have no business watching. Not, oh, I'm gonna just do a little sin on the side, be a little lukewarm since nobody can see me as long as I look holy in public. Those are dark corners in your spirit. You have to be radical about what you allow into your spirit, about what you are allowing into your eye gates and your ear gates. And this goes for the people you talk to, the conversations you have with people. Somebody can say something to you and it can be so negative, and you can allow it to penetrate your spirit, or you can allow it to die. And I want to strictly talk about media, because when it comes to media in general, before I jump into social media, when it comes to media in general, movies, music, TV shows, the news, a lot of it is nonsense. And it doesn't always have to be, oh, this is demonic. This is not of God. Oh, look at them. That's not how I live my life. A lot of times it's just junk. It really is. A lot of times it's just junk filling your mind with nonsense. Now I want to jump into social media now. When you scrolling on social media, I remember I saw this video of this girl. She was like scrolling on social media in the year 2023, and it was her scrolling, and you like hear a bunch of ignorant, unnecessary, unfruitful conversations about dating or something. Like, you know, like those little black, I know I'm a podcaster, but like those little black man podcasters or those girl podcasters who talk about nonsense. Like, you gonna pay on the first date, or y'all gonna go 50-50. Or it'll be like, would you date a man who cheated on you but makes $1 billion? My sister asked me that the other day, actually, and I was kind of like, girl, I don't care. I'm not. That's adultery. Or like, would you get into a relationship with the man who treated you like a queen but he was a square? I'm like, hey, I got faith that God, got a man for me that got the whole package. Unfruitful conversations, junk that influences your mind. So as the media is talking about what dating looks like for them, what life looks like for them, what socializing looks like for them, you going out with a girl who got this many bodies. It's different. It's a different culture when you're a Christian, and that's just point blank period. There's a different culture when you're a Christian. A lot of that stuff has nothing to do with us. So why are we talking about if we're going 50-50 if it says that the man is a provider? Why are we talking about if we're dating a man who's a virgin, if we're waiting till marriage over here? Why are we talking about, are we going to date a woman or a man who has 1 million bodies, who has this many bodies, if over here we're Christians who are waiting till marriage or we're waiting till marriage? It doesn't concern us half the time. And so when you start consuming that media, your mind is influenced into a way where, oh, you know, maybe it's okay if I do this. Maybe it's okay if I try that. Maybe it's okay if I talk to this girl. Now you've fallen off your walk and you're getting further away from God. That's the power of the media. Not to mention, you consume so much secular media that you start to believe that there really isn't a Christian world, a Christian realm where there's other believers like you, like-minded like you. And that was me for a minute. Like, not even in the media, but in the real world. Like, dang, I can't find community. There's no other people walking this walk. What am I going to do? I felt alone, and I went towards media and Christian media, like YouTubers and Instagrammers and stuff like that, who were women of God, and that kind of gave me some hope. For a minute, your girl was like, hey, I'm the only Christian out here. I don't know what I'm going to do. So being watchful of what you consume, it has an influence over you. Why are we listening to music that talks about slapping women, pushing them down, putting them in positions, putting drugs in their drink, when it says that men are supposed to love women like Christ loves the church? Husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church. Why are we listening to that? There's no correlation. What fellowship does darkness have with light? Why are we listening to music from women who are talking about over-sexualizing themselves, playing men, running men around like dogs, acting like men when we're supposed to carry ourselves as women of God? Why are we watching movies that are straight up demonic? Why are we watching horror movies and scary movies when we know that stuff is real? Spiritual warfare is real. Why are we watching TV shows? There's literally a show called Sex Lives of College Girls. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Why are we watching that when we're on a purity journey? It don't make sense. The math ain't mathing, okay? Like, be cautious of what you're consuming. Maybe the barrier between you getting closer to God is you're letting darkness into your eye gates. You're letting people tell you that this isn't real. You're letting people fill your mind with nonsense. You're letting the world fill your spirit with ignorance. While we're still on the topic of social media, let me dive a little bit deeper, because social media isn't necessarily as black and white as movie genres and music genres. Social media is full of light and dark. And with that being said, social media is a tool, just like a hammer or a screwdriver. And a hammer is used to fix things, right? A screwdriver is used to fix things, but it can also be used as a murder weapon. How you choose to use that hammer determines its purpose, a tool or a weapon. How you choose to consume media dictates its role in your life. It could be a place of community, love, knowledge, expression, and innocent entertainment. Or it can be a place where envy is born, depression is born, where junk is poured into your mind, a place that alters your way of thinking. It's up to you. Your algorithm is based off of what you like, what you engage with, what you comment on, what you watch, who you follow, so on and so forth. I'm not anti-social media, but I understand why a lot of people are. There's a lot of bad stuff out there, but there's also a lot of good, which is why I call it a tool as well. Because social media helped me personally go closer to God. I got saved by watching a sermon on YouTube. And then I developed in my walk by watching Christian YouTubers. Developed my walk by... And of course, your girl got in that word, okay? Your girl built that prayer life. But I also was watching Christian YouTubers, following Christian Instagrammers and TikTokers. And it was a tool that helped me grow closer to God. It answered questions I had, and it continues to do so. So, if you think about it, yes, we're looking at screens, but there are real people with real stories behind these screens, and you just have to find the right people as you would do in the world. If you're not hanging out with worldly people in real life, then why are you watching their videos? So that they can feed you nonsense. If you are not kicking it with worldly people in real life, then why are you watching TV shows that promote their lifestyle? If you ain't chilling with shooters and gangbangers who treat women like dogs, then why are you listening to their music? If you ain't chilling with city girls who run the streets in the middle of the night, partying, playing these dudes like dogs, then why are you listening to their music? More than you're getting into worship with God. You know what I'm saying? Again, what fellowship does light have with darkness? So my plan is to continue to use social media as a tool, not a weapon. And I'm not saying these things saying that I'm perfect, because your girl definitely could do better. I could do better with some music. The biggest thing I could do better with is social media, and sometimes I just be scrolling. When you're scrolling on social media, and specifically TikTok or like Instagram Reels, a lot of the times you don't know what's going to pop up next. I gave myself this analogy. This is the enemy's tool. Social media is the enemy's tool. You're scrolling, you're allowing him to put whatever he wants to put in your face. You scrolling on TikTok, you could instantly go from a sermon to someone giving you a tarot reading. It's like that quick. The enemy can use that as a tool to put whatever he wants to put in front of your face. He can make you feel envious. He can make you feel jealous. He can make you feel fearful. He can give you anxiety. He can give you depression. He can make you weaker in knowledge and wisdom by putting nonsense in front of your face simply by just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Every time you scroll, it's like a gamble. You don't know what's going to come next. And he's looking at this like, oh, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity. She been on her phone for hours. I'm about to put this video on her For You page, and it's going to make her mad. I'm going to put this video on her For You page. It's going to make her remember about the times that she used to get high and mess with these dudes and party. And she going to want to go back. Yeah, I'm going to put this video on her For You page. That's how the devil is thinking, and we give him those opportunities because we have no discipline, because we want to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So let's help each other by being disciplined, promoting useful media, positive media, not sharing junk, innocent entertainment, and use social media wisely, because you slip up and fall and all of a sudden social media has become a weapon against your spirit, and you can't identify why you've been feeling so ungrateful, why you compare yourself so much, and why you are stuck in another world that has stolen you from your reality. Be cautious, be diligent, y'all. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on TikTok at Jada.Christine. Follow the podcast on Instagram at the JRNE Podcast. Make sure you watch last week's vlog. Stay tuned for this week's vlog. I really enjoy doing these vlogs. Let me know what you think about those also. Please come back. Please spin back. Come see me or listen to me again, and have a blessed day. Bye, y'all.